I'd like to call to order this special meeting of the Peters Township Planning Commission, August 27th, 2026. May I have a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Corbel,
Here.
Mr. Magrino,
Here.
Mr. Sleppis,
Here.
and Ms. Peters.
Here.
Very good. Is there minutes for this evening?
There's
There are
not
none?
minutes. We will be producing minutes for this evening, but you also have the August meeting minutes at the next Planning Commission meeting.
Very good, thank you. Any public comment for items not on the agenda? Seeing none. There is no old business. We'll move on to new business. Before I turn it over to you, Mark, could you just give us a quick synopsis of how we got to this point here this
Sure.
evening? I think it's important for anyone watching at home to understand that this doesn't just fall out of the sky. This has been
Sure.
a comprehensive process with engagement of the community.
Well, I'll note that first off, we have HRG here. They're our consultants who have worked on this. You have Laura and Summer, who have been working with us for a year and a half now. So this has been a process. Start out with we had an open house, two open houses actually. We had a steering committee formed, members of Planning Commission, members of Council, Zoning Hearing Board, and some residents. They met on a monthly basis where we went over a bunch of feedback that we received from Township residents. That feedback was basically provided by a mix of ways, including surveys, again, the open house, we had comment boxes, we went to Community Day, I had a booth there. So there's a number of ways that the public could interact with us, and we provide those comments into the document and worked with the steering committee to basically get to this point. Now, I'll note that I believe in seeing your presentation, you'll probably go a little more in detail in that, but that's basically how we ended up here. And again, this started a little over a year ago, probably about a year and a half ago.
Fantastic, and I appreciate that because being on the Planning Commission for quite a number of years, we often see residents come up and explain, how did this happen, how did we get here? We talk about the comprehensive planning process. So I appreciate all the engagement. I appreciate the folks from HRG. That's fantastic. It seems like there was a lot of effort put into trying to evoke some comments from the public, so I do appreciate that. Thank you. That brings us to new business.
So I'd like to turn over to HRG. We'll provide a presentation, get a little bit more in detail about the comprehensive plan, including how we got there with some of the survey results noted. One of the big items that they'll be talking about is the future land use map. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mark. And thanks for having us here tonight. It's been a really fun process over the past year and a half or so, working with the township staff and the steering committee. Rochelle, we want to thank you too for all your time and your valuable just thoughts and comments that you've shared over the course of the process. So Rochelle's been really great and often a voice of reason sometimes on the steering committee. So appreciate you. But yeah, so this is our agenda for this evening. We'll do a brief welcome introductions of Summer and myself. We'll briefly talk about what a comprehensive plan is. We'll review the comprehensive planning process specifically for Peters Township and some of those key milestones that we've hit throughout the process. We do have several slides to sort of summarize all of the public and stakeholder engagement that we've done over the course of the project. And then we'll review the plan theme areas, talk about next steps, and then we'll open it up to questions, comments after we get through the presentation. So my name is Laura Ludwig. I'm an AICP certified planner. I've been serving as the project manager for this project. I am the group manager of HRG's Small But Mighty planning group. We have 5 planners across the state, across our various offices. And I've been doing community planning for over 20 years, which is crazy to think about. And then Summer is one of our other planners. She has also spent countless hours on this project in addition to myself. And then we did have 2 previous staff members who are no longer with HRG, but put a great deal of time and effort into the project as well. So what is a comprehensive plan? A comprehensive plan, for those that may not be as familiar, it's a community's vision for the next 10 to 15 years. So the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, or the MPC, as we know it by and refer to it often by, basically recommends that communities, counties, municipalities update their comprehensive plan every 10 years. So within your plan, you will have a statement of goals and objectives. And it's comprehensive for a reason, because the MPC says it has to cover certain topics like housing, economic development, land use, infrastructure, parks, recreation, community facilities, natural resources, etc. And really what a comprehensive plan is it's a roadmap. It's a policy guide for decision making that township staff and elected officials, council, planning commission members can really take into the years ahead to help implement projects and initiatives that have been identified throughout the plan. And I think the great thing about comprehensive plans is that they really do open up Peters Township then to go and get more funding, seek out grants, things like that, to help some of the projects and initiatives happen within the plan that we've identified and that we'll talk about here tonight. And what we've prepared is an implementable plan for Peters Township. So comprehensive plans over the past couple of decades have really changed a lot. They used to be really, really thick documents that just sat on a shelf. They no longer are like that. While the MPC really hasn't changed much, DCED, the Department of Community and Economic Development, has really helped to guide municipalities and county governments to do more implementable plans, and really they have more achievable goals, more actionable goals and strategies, really focused on implementation. So instead of having a traditional old plan that would have had a housing chapter, and it would have had a infrastructure chapter, and would have had community facilities chapter and a parks chapter, the implementable plan and the plan specifically for Peters Township is centered around certain theme areas, and we'll share what those are here on a few slides from now. But we do this while still achieving all of the requirements of the MPC. And I mentioned a little bit about implementation, but a large focus of this implementable plan that was done for Peters Township is on that implementation table, or matrix as we call it, and it identifies, not only goals, objectives, and strategies related to those larger goals, but then identifies partner organizations to help make them happen, potential funding sources, and then timelines for the goals, objectives, and strategies. So this graphic just really goes over the full planning process in Peters Township to develop the comprehensive plan from start to finish, from where we started to where we are now. In April 2025 is when we officially kicked off. We did a tour of the township in May of that year, met with staff and did staff and sort of department head interviews at that time. We developed a trends report and a past plans review. A lot of those larger documents are in the appendix of the plan. And then we kicked off engagement. I think our first community engagement event was the Community Day that year in 2025 in June. And then we've held some public open houses. The first was in September of last year, and then the most recent one was in June of this year. We sort of time those at different parts of the process because, in the beginning we're looking kind of more for general feedback. What are the big issues that we need to address? And then towards the end we have, a lot to share. So we're looking for feedback of what we've sort of created so far. So that's why they're spaced out a bit. And then in between, a lot of strategizing, a lot of steering committee meetings. They were held pretty much every other month throughout the course of the process. And then regular monthly check-ins with staff were done, held mostly in person here at the Township building and a couple of them virtual. So that's really a nutshell of the process from start to finish. We are officially in the public review and adoption period per the PA MPC. Basically, I think July 20th was our official start of the the public review process. And it's still on display now. This tonight is the official Planning Commission public meeting to review the plan, and then Town Council will also have a public hearing next month. So we'll be here presenting probably something very similar to tonight. So to summarize some of our public and stakeholder engagement that we've done, I mentioned a couple of these already. We attended Township Community Day. We did the online community survey, was available for a couple of months. We held the first open house in September of last year. We also did key stakeholder focus group meetings. Those were held some last year and then some earlier this year. We met with farmers, we met with large lot owners, representatives of the business community, real estate folks, developers, community organizations, that type of thing. Again, notes and summaries of all of these items are in the appendix. We did do a council presentation before Township Council in April of this year, just to kind of review where things were at, get some feedback before we officially shared the draft for the first time with the public at the second open house that we held in June. I mentioned we had a steering committee, which Rochelle so graciously served on. We had 6 total meetings over the course of the project with them, and then the public display period kicked off on July 20th. These are just some pictures from some of the engagement. There's a few from Community Day. There's a few from the various open houses and some of the activities we did. And then some of the highlights. For our online survey, we had I've been doing planning for a long time. I said 20 years, right? This is the most responses I've ever received in any online survey I've ever done for any project in all of the state, and I've worked in other states too. So we got 2,616 responses. The township sent out, in addition to putting announcements on the website and sharing it other ways, they sent out a mailer for I think both open houses, but also for the survey. So when you look at the amount of households that the township has and the amount that mailer would have gone to and the amount of survey responses we received, it's about a 32% response rate, which is really outstanding for this type of effort. And then the first open house, we had about 50 attendees, and then the second one, the most recent one we held, we had about 90 folks. It was great. And those might seem like low numbers, but for us and in what we do, that's a really good turnout at both meetings, particularly the second one. We almost, doubled the attendance. So we've really done a robust, I think, engagement throughout the course of the planning process. There is an online comment form available now. We checked this morning. Again, there's been one comment just sitting in there for a while. Just one comment so far, so maybe we'll try to get the word out about that a little bit more. It's an online comment form, so it's similar to how we did the online survey. It's through SurveyMonkey.
We're hosting
but we host it, but it's through SurveyMonkey. So it should be up on the township website. Like if you go to look,
Pretty sure it's on there. If you go to the comprehensive section
the
of the
comprehensive
website.
plan
So
site.
you're saying I can go to the township website and make a comment?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a form. You just click that link and then fill it out, and we'll see it. Yep. All right. Well, I'm going to turn it over to Summer now.
So I don't know if this microphone works at all.
It does.
Okay, yeah, we're good. I'm just going to go really briefly over some of the online survey results that we found because I think they help to inform the whole process. So as Laura said, we received 2,616 total responses. It was also available to be filled out in person, and we did collect some of those responses. It was open from the end of June to mid-August of last year. And we just pulled 2 questions from it that I think kind of are reflective of the general process. So one was, how satisfied are you to live in Peters Township? And the vast majority, over 70%, 79, I think, 78%, were either at least satisfied or very satisfied living here, which is a good thing. That means you guys are at least doing the right things for the most part, and that we should be continuing that momentum. And I just want to preface, the full detailed report from this survey is available in the appendix, and we do talk about it a little bit more in the comprehensive plan. So if there's specific questions, I can answer them, but you likely can find it in the appendix. The other question we thought would be interesting to pull up is, what issues do you think should be most important to Peters Township government officials and staff moving forward? as the plan is updated. And we weighted the average scores. They're not quite lined up anymore, but the top items that were given generally the highest score were retention of agricultural and green spaces, emergency medical services, fire protection, traffic congestion, police, which was reflective of a lot of the other feedback and comments we've been receiving throughout the process. So I wouldn't say that anything here was unexpected. In terms of takeaways from the survey, as I said, some of the things that we've been hearing throughout the process, emergency services are important. People really value the low tax rate, the quality of the infrastructure, and a solid school district. 49% of respondents indicated they felt that the variety of housing in Peters would meet their needs at retirement. 22.7 had no opinion, and 28.2 indicated it would not meet their needs. The majority of residents indicated they would like to see more development of single-family homes on half-acre to one-acre lots. And hopefully you'll see that that is continued through the rest of the process and outlined in our land use portion of the plan. Also based on weighted averages, respondents indicated the retention of agricultural and green spaces is the most important issue that the township government officials and staff should address. And then we asked also about wish list items, like if money was no object, what would you like to see? And people often indicated transportation and road infrastructure, safety and connectivity, preservation and rural character, and community recreational facilities and programming. In terms of, I'm still going, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Yep. In terms of takeaways regarding land use, which we'll touch back on land use in a little bit here, so just hold on. Some of the feedback we heard regarding future land use throughout the process, especially at our previous open house meeting, the second one back in June. It's all a blur now. Yeah. We made sure that the future land use map reflected a minimum of either half acre or 1 acre lots or 1 acre plus. So to enforce that the township would like to remain low density. So the lowest density would be a half acre lot. We also kind of shifted the vision for the large property in the Venetia Hills area to be a little less specific in terms of what the determined goal is. It's kind of up to you guys, I think, essentially in the future to determine how you want to see that be built out. But what we heard was that it should be, larger lots. But there's definitely an opportunity here, given the size, to do something really interesting and significant.
Yeah, and I will just comment that I think the text too within the plan itself goes into a little bit more detail about what specifically could be part of that special land use area. But really, in the end, I think we just all sort of agreed it needed some more study, some more thought put into it before we said, okay, it needs, is it a PRD? Is it half acre to 1 acre lots? Is it 1 plus acre or more like estate lots? Is it a mix of all of those things? Does it have some commercial and sort of mixed use tied within it? So, that's why we deemed it that sort of special land use area, which may confuse some folks. So we just want to make sure we explain it.
Excuse me, I'm really bad with acronyms. What's a PRD?
Oh, planned residential development.
Yeah.
Sorry. And us planners are very bad with just saying them and not, telling you what it is, because it's ingrained in our brains.
And if I can just say that even within the group of us that were meeting, there was a lot of different opinions, different thought processes, different ways to look at how that larger piece of land could or should be used for future land development. And so it's a large piece of land, and there's a lot of opinions about what either the best use or what the different opportunities should be explored for that larger piece of land that's left in the township.
Yeah, and I will say one of the sort of, purposes, if you will, of us presenting before Township Council in April was to kind of get feedback on this property specifically and the future land use plan. Like, hey, are you guys good with this? Do you think this is where it needs to be? And I will say, I think they were very open to some of the ideas, but also just wanted to learn more about, what a planned residential development is and what that can all entail. Because really, when you think about it, it really can be a tool if you design it the way you want it to be. But I think it's just some more research, I think, on that end to be done. But I think leaving it open like this is A-okay in terms of moving forward.
All right. So with all of that factored in, we, got to writing. This is the cover for the plan. And we determined the following theme areas, and each theme area is its own chapter in the plan. In addition to them, there's the introduction and then the implementation, which is the meat and potatoes that kind of tells you how to achieve your goals. So the theme areas we determined through the process are guiding land use and development, fostering economic development and financial sustainability, promoting housing variety, enhancing community facilities, promoting infrastructure improvements, and increasing connectivity and multimodal mobility. And now we'll go through some of the items in the implementation chapter, some of the objectives that we've identified that we've heard specifically are very important to the community through the public engagement activities we've done and the survey and all the other public engagement we've done.
All right, thanks, Summer. So the first theme area that we'll go over is guiding land use and development. I'm not going to read everything within this table, but this is the implementation table or matrix. So the very last chapter of the plan talks specifically about implementation. Some of the ones that we've highlighted are ones that if you look back, we did a voting exercise at the, let me do the little pointer. Yeah. So we did a voting exercise at the open house, and you can see, some of the ones that got the most dots. So that was what people thought was like the most important goal. So we're just going to highlight a few that were pretty popular with the public at the meeting and also amongst the steering committee and staff. So I cannot read that.
I can. Do you want me to?
Yeah, man.
I guess my glasses are
45. My eyes are not what they used to be. But hold, I think I have it.
You got
I have
it?
it typed.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Okay.
Ha. Okay. See, this is why I plan ahead with my old eyes. Getting old. Okay, so 2 of the implementation action items here: reviewing land use ordinances to ensure that adequate open space, buffering, landscaping, and planting requirements are provided for and are consistent with maintaining the township's rural character. So again, I think you're starting to see some of those plans: preservation of rural character remaining, and also, a real actionable item is reviewing your land use ordinances. That's a very usual next step once you complete a comp plan, is to look at your zoning and to look at your subdivision and land development ordinance, your SALDO, moving forward. And then the other one is working with area farmers to reinvigorate and revamp the agricultural security area program. You do have an ASA. I don't think it's been renewed per like the usual requirements that you're supposed to renew it every 7 years. But there is, an ASA in the books somewhere. I think it could be reinvigorated and get the, the active farmers that you still have here more involved with that.
ASA, agricultural
Security area. Yeah, ASA. Sorry, I know that's really hard to see. I feel like the highlight almost makes it worse. I could read the ones that aren't highlighted.
We have a copy of the plan too, if you want to see it a little bigger.
So, as you present, I'm used to going to council.
Sure.
Am I allowed to ask you something?
It's okay. Yeah, there aren't like
Well,
50
they
of
need
you.
We would like you to come up and state your name and address, sir, just so we could probably allow you to comment from the crowd after you do.
Yeah.
I didn't know how you wanted to do it because I might have a specific question
Sure.
there, but I do have a bunch of questions.
Yeah, I mean,
Why don't you come up and state your name and address, sir? So we have that on the record, and then if the other gentleman would like to do so, and given the limited attendance this evening, I don't mind if you sit in your seat and
Yeah,
ask a question.
yeah,
There's
same,
a rub.
same. I
There may
think
be,
that's fine.
we would like our folks to go through the entire presentation. I understand if there's an acronym or something like that, you want to clarify.
yeah, I was going to say if there's
follow
like
up, but-
clarifications on the slides, like we can absolutely pause to address that or an
And we'll
acronym.
take- and then we'll take formal comments at the end, sir.
Yeah.
So you'll tell me if it's appropriate then.
Sure.
When you were getting in the agricultural area, obviously we have a big meeting on Monday.
Yes.
Not the public there was more than 90, by the way. That last workshop my wife and I came to, there was a lot of discussion about the setbacks, the ASA, buffers, and that the farmers are very confused because they get a mixed message from Department of Agriculture and then the other governments, and then somebody stuck their nose in it and tried to declare wetlands.
And I will say we got much of the same. Like we called the county conservation district. We looked up the Department of Agriculture stuff. Like it is a little confusing.
And Mr. Simmons sat here and
Yeah.
said they couldn't
Yeah.
answer questions.
I'm going to ask you to state your name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry, I wrote it. The Tony Brown, 123 Druid Drive. I'm the beautiful cell tower house, by the way.
Thank you, Tony. If you have any specific comments relative to understanding the context of the presentation, that's fine, but if you have more general comments,
Well, that's
we
why.
can save those to the end.
That's why I was asking you, because we were just talking about agricultural, so I can discuss the agricultural now, or I can just wait till the end.
If you can wait till the end. If you have a
Okay.
question on what, ASA means, that's completely understandable. We'll
Okay.
allow that to make sure we can move forward with the presentation.
Because I'll disrupt it later anyway, so.
I know, you can ask whatever questions you have later.
And
That's
your name,
totally
sir?
okay.
Nick Gigannis, 130 East Edgewood Drive.
Thank you very much. So again, we'll just hold to any clarifying questions so we can follow along with the presentation. It'll probably help the folks at home. But
By the
then,
way, if you got anybody coming or leaving, Thomas and McMurray is shut down, something happened.
Oh.
Yeah,
understood?
we heard about that.
So-
Yeah.
Laura, please continue.
Okay, thank you. All right, so a couple of the other guiding land use and development objectives, I mentioned it a little bit, but identifying, those potential zoning ordinance or zoning map amendments, to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and the goals and the vision within it and the future land use map. And then we'll present on it in a little bit, but it sort of falls in here as well. We do have a draft official map that is included within the comprehensive plan. It's just in draft form, and the PA Municipalities Planning Code, or the MPC, does have a separate process through which that gets approved. So it's just in draft form right now. So, one of our action steps is also for the township to take that forward and officially adopt the official map. Yeah, it's a lot of officials. All right, so this is the future land use map. I will just note a couple of things here. Let me see. Am I turning it back over to you?
No, but I can
No.
talk on it if
Okay,
you'd like
no,
me to.
Okay, I was just making sure I was in the right place. So we touched on this a little bit before, and it is really hard to see the legend over here. Much of the township that's this, sort of very light, orangish color, is housing that is 0.5 to 1 acre. So 0.5 to 1 acre lots. Large majority reflects, what is, here currently, but then any future land uses as well. And then the Venetia Hills property, or the Miller property here, as we mentioned before, is shown as the special land use area. When you look at how that all breaks down, 50.9% of, so almost 60%, of the housing, is housing that is 0.5 to 1 acre on the future land use map. There's also about 7.4% in that light yellow color, pastel yellow, that is greater than 1 acre. And then a smaller percentage, that 5.5, is less than half acre. There's also 1.3% for townhomes and multifamily. And then that Venetia Hills property is 3%, so special land use area. So when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, that is, one of the final sort of larger properties that is left to be developed here in the township. And then you still have a good portion agricultural land on the future land use map is at about 7.8% of all the land, and then open space and parks is another 16%. So that's how that all sort of shakes out. I also mentioned the official map. This is the draft official map. Basically, official maps are a tool also authorized by the PA Municipalities Planning Code, MPC. And basically, it can help to identify locations of potential public improvements in the future. This could be streets, trails, infrastructure-related projects, even intersection-related improvements, property acquisitions, things like that. It helps communities to implement their comprehensive plan. So again, this can be a tool moving forward. Once it gets adopted officially, which I mentioned is a separate process. A couple things to note on this map, and I know it's somewhat hard to see here. So again, we do have a hard copy of the plan folks are welcome to look at. But there's a new public works facility proposed. We know that they're sort of outgrowing some of their space, and there's some land adjacent to where their current facility is at the entrance to Peterswood Park. There's also a potential roundabout shown just down the road here. Again, it's one potential option for improvements at the intersection. And then there's some pedestrian connectivity throughout. There's also an additional radio tower noted, and then some additional parkland acquisition. So that is the official map. And then moving on to our next theme area, fostering economic development and financial sustainability. The township really is already doing so many great things. You have a wonderful staff here, you have a wonderful council, you have wonderful boards and commissions, really doing a lot. But what this sort of theme area really focuses on is just continuing some of those things, trying to foster some economic development, trying to expand the tax base a little bit here to get some more revenue coming in, and to continue to operate, sustainably, which I think you are doing. So some of the things to highlight here, some of the action items that are highlighted: continue to seek grants and other funding assistance to support and undertake various projects and initiatives. Evaluate management procedures and finances for ways to economize operations, capital, personnel expenses without reducing services. As the township continues to grow, that will be really big, because the more residents you have, the more streets you have, the more impact that puts back on your public services. And then maintaining the existing high quality of life, which is something that we really heard a lot throughout the public improvement process. And I'm going to turn it back over to Summer now.
All right. So then the next section is promoting housing variety. We'll just keep going and call out some highlights from the rest of the theme areas. So for this one, it kind of ties a little bit back to land use. So complete review and audit of the existing zoning and subdivision and land development ordinances, the SALDO, it's often called. That's typically a next step for a comprehensive plan regardless of the community. But I think especially in the case of this plan, that is super important to get on top of. And kind of tangential to that, amending the zoning ordinance to update minimum lot sizes, lot coverage requirements, and setbacks to meet the vision for the township. So we've talked a lot about half-acre lots and beyond. So just making sure that those thoughts and ideas are being carried out with the zoning ordinance.
And we don't want to scare anyone with that, promoting housing variety. I mean, you saw the future land use map. You saw how, how it shakes out in terms of the percentages, but we also saw that, there's a good amount of residents that live here currently in the survey that said they're not sure if, that the housing here can meet their needs in the future. So again, we're trying to account a little bit for that. So we're saying promote housing variety, but it's within those, lot sizes that were identified within the future land use map. So we still think there's some opportunity to do some of that higher density in certain areas, obviously, but the majority of, potential development moving forward is that half-acre, 2-acre, or more lots.
Oh, I have the clicker. I didn't even realize. All good. All right. Next up is enhancing community facilities. So that talks about pretty much anything that the township owns. So the top highlighted one is develop a prioritized list of projects and improvements needed at the township's parks, recreational, and library facilities. So just identifying what needs to be improved or added or whatever it may be, and make sure that there's an appropriate timeline and costs associated with that. And then we also have maintained the township's existing recreational facilities so that they continue to serve as quality recreational assets to the community. As your community continues to be built out, which it's almost there, there's going to be little acquisition of parkland in the future at this point. So you have to make sure what you have in terms of parkland is being best used and serving the community as well as possible. So just making sure that that continues to meet the community's needs. Also kind of on that, we'll look at some of the transformation sketches we made for the project. So these are just kind of visionary drawings, ideas that we came up with through the process that shows some of the improvements or the items that could be shown in the future for the community. So it's just kind of like fuel to see if there's interest and buyback from the community, and you can use it also to potentially acquire grant funding. So this one specifically, we talked a little bit about community identity. There's not really a continuous or unified branding and signage package for all the parks and municipal facilities. So part of it was just kind of coming up with a concept for that. And we came up with some concepts for a park sign and a municipal sign, which I'll show you in a moment. But they were kind of inspired by some of the existing facilities and infrastructure in the community, as well as the splash pad having these like charred wood paneling and stuff. So we were trying to pull from what we already see and know in the community. So this is one of them, but we also have a couple other transformation sketches in the final plan. This is the one for the municipal center with some sort of like a directory for the number of facilities here in this campus, as well as maybe some sort of a sign board that can, announce like, oh, upcoming community day or whatever it may be. Next is promoting infrastructure improvements. So that regards to anything from roads, bridges, water maintenance, et cetera. So update and fund a multi-year preventative maintenance and, oh, wait, I can't read that actually. Hold on. Yeah, I can't read that one. Hold on. Update and fund a multi-year, does it say preventative?
Preventative maintenance.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. And replacement
Well,
schedule
Mark's got
that
good
can coordinates roadway resurfacing with the
Bridge structure.
yeah, that's like pushing my vision abilities. Repairs and utility projects where feasible. Protect and actively manage township-owned open space and riparian areas as green infrastructure. And then last but not least, so I don't have to keep reading this sign, as land development projects occur, incorporate best management practices with the design and construction requirements to mitigate potential impacts for existing homes. That usually pertains to stormwater specifically. So making sure that that's being factored in future developments. Okay. Thank God I don't have to do that. Well, actually, there's more. No, but I can read this one.
Yeah, this one's better.
All right. Next chapter. Oh, well, this is the next chapter, increasing connectivity and multimodal mobility. So that pertains to active transportation, walking, biking, but also vehicular access, making sure that cars are able to get around comfortably, safely, with as minimal traffic as possible, although it's inevitable to an extent. So completing an annual road paving project, it should have a schedule of like when things are due to be repaved. Improving traffic flow throughout, improve traffic flow through improvements to key corridors, including timing of traffic signals. And then improve walking and biking connectivity. Part of that, there's another page of it. Prioritize transportation initiatives that are generally less expensive and quick to implement. Thank you. Yeah, okay, I got it. So alongside that, we also created a map showing some connectivity concepts for the community, most of which include just better pedestrian safety, more connectivity to the existing trail system you have, which is awesome. And I think a lot of people who live in nearby communities don't have a super safe way right now to get to the trail. So making those connections, ensuring that there are safe crossings for pedestrians and bicyclists. So this map just shows you a couple of the interventions we proposed, including crossing improvements, intersection improvements, RRFBs, which are rectangular rapid flashing beacons. They're those like flashy lights for crossings for pedestrians, alongside some of the key points that people want to walk and bike to, like the schools and the parks. Yeah, I'm going to pass it back to Laura now for next steps.
All right. So as I mentioned, this meeting this evening is the official Planning Commission public meeting that is part of the MPC required approval process. Couple of key notes of things that we've hit, milestones we've hit here. The draft plan was sent to all of the neighboring municipalities. Any of the municipalities that share a border with Peters Township were notified. Washington County was also notified, as well as the Peters Township School District. So no comments have been received to date. I did get a couple emails back. Oh, thanks for sending. We will review. The full comment period is technically 45 days. So we started July 20th. So they are nearing their 45-day. Hopefully we hear something, at least from Washington County. Usually as the county planning agency, they'll respond. But I don't know. Mark may know more if they will actually respond or not. And then Township Council has a public hearing scheduled for September 28th. We'll go over a very similar presentation to tonight there, and then open up for public comment. And like I said, there is an online comment form available via SurveyMonkey. It should be on the website, if Township's website, if you go to where the comprehensive plan is displayed. And then after that, we'll take comments, make any adjustments as needed. Hopefully nothing substantial, or else we have to go through another 45-day review period. So we're hoping that comments will not be substantial in nature, but maybe minor or clarification type of items. And then the town council can either approve at their September 28th meeting or at a subsequent October meeting. So
there, if they say they wanted something altered or council change, how do you decide if it's
yeah.
not enough?
So, like, if we wanted to completely change, the Venetia Hills property and take out that special land use area or something like that, that would be a significant change.
Let's understand what comments we have
Yeah.
this evening, and then
Yeah.
we'll cross that bridge
Yeah.
if we need to.
I don't
Yeah.
think I have enough brain space to hold on to this unless we're like on it. I'll make the first comment. So
We're not ready for public comment yet.
Yep.
no, I guess it's to you because I need your help. So when I'm doing this right now, it's Mark or Garrett's computer, right? And I've asked for this for 2 years. Me and my wife are news junkies. So it counts, when you use a pointer, if you watch this on video, you don't get any of it. It's very confusing. And I've asked, is there any way they can get a camera? Because I know the man sits there. So there's been many times people come up, we're pointing and everything. You never see it at home.
You don't see the presentation?
No, that's off his computer. That's all you see at home.
Are the slides?
Oh.
You just see the slides, or?
Gotcha.
I think he's talking about
Well,
like when
I've
people
seen
point at
this,
stuff.
but
I understand.
There's a lot of times if I would have come to the map, or he uses a
I see.
pointer,
Yeah.
you don't see that.
Understood. So we're projecting on the screen right now what we're seeing, but if we're pointing live with our hands and whatnot, gestures,
It doesn't come
folks aren't
through.
seeing that. So if we need to point to anything this evening, if you could use your cursor, that would be ideal for the folks at
And
home.
the ideal would be if you guys could get a change done. I've asked for it for 2 years. When I watch these meetings, and I get lost because you're doing something or somebody's up here, you don't see it. And you
Well-
don't see the pointer.
We'll endeavor to be better at that. If there's any other technology that we can employ, that would be beneficial. I understand your concern. Thank you.
At this time, that concludes our presentation, so we're happy to update, move on to discussion, questions, comments.
Laura,
from-
can I just
Yep.
ask, can you just talk a little bit again for people who are watching and people who are here, just a little bit about, like, what does this do? What does the comprehensive plan do? And
Sure.
what does it not do? Meaning
Sure.
that no matter what happens here, whatever is adopted, shared, approved, what does it actually do for the township? and what has to happen next for anything to actually change or occur. I think that's just something that's
Sure.
hard for people to
Yes.
understand. If
Yeah.
you don't already know, what does this document mean unless we do something else, right?
Correct. So yeah, really, a comprehensive plan is a visionary plan. It is a policy guide. It is looking 10 years into the future. So sometimes it doesn't get super specific in anything with regards to like, okay, we're going to do, we have to address speeding and it's exactly at this intersection or something like that. I mean, we have general goals within here that are saying, look at traffic flow and there is some language in there, but really, once the plan is adopted, that's then the township's guide. So for elected officials, for staff to then move forward and start to implement some of those projects that are identified in here. So, the comprehensive plan does not change the zoning ordinance. It does not change the zoning map. Even the official map that's in here would need to get adopted as a separate process per the MPC. So, it's setting those policies and setting those long range sort of goals. But if you look really within the implementation matrix of the plan, it shows a lot of, timeframes for some of the goals, what needs to happen more immediately, more long term. The comprehensive plan can go back and be amended or changed. I mean, it's meant to last, 10 to 15 years typically. But yeah, it's just a policy guide. So there's a lot of steps that need to occur after it's adopted to then formally make it happen.
Right. What it doesn't do is it doesn't change our land use ordinance.
Correct.
It doesn't change
Yes.
our zoning.
Yeah, you
It
still have to
doesn't
do
change
that
the
separately.
requirements
Yep.
for what have to happen.
Yep.
It tells what generally we've adopted is what we would like to see. But it's more the
Correct.
beginning of the process
Yep.
than the end of the process. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
and this is probably the process by which is the most malleable for the public to provide comment on, because once we get into writing ordinances, they have to generally follow the comprehensive plan. So commentary from the public on this plan is essential, because once we start moving past this, it becomes a little bit more rigid, if you will.
Yes. Yes.
So that this really
Focused, I would guess.
focus.
Yes.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes.
So that's why we're impressing upon everyone the community involvement.
Yeah. And I know I mentioned this before, but a very common next step after you have your comprehensive plan is to go then and update your zoning ordinance and your map, and to update your SALDO, subdivision and land development ordinance, and things like that. I think we
It's a
also
lot.
have in here, to do a CPROS plan, a comprehensive park rec and open space plan. So that's something, that's a comprehensive plan that really just looks at your parks and your community facilities and says, okay, let's do an inventory. Let's look at safety of these, does that playground need to be updated? Things like that. So there's definitely more steps along the way. This is just setting the vision and setting those policies for things you have to do in the future.
And then the only other thing I thought might be helpful to generally discuss, so people can hear, is there's a lot of things that have, fiscal, some of these things are, not conceptual, but increase the lot size. Well, if we increase that, then that's up to whoever builds to do that. There were other
Yes.
things you talked about here that are money items, right? Money items for the township, right?
Yep.
And you have, and we had discussed during the, during our meetings, and then it's in here a few times, about grants, about where sometimes those monies come from. Would that be
Yes.
so, would you mind just taking 2 minutes and just discuss like where you have seen that be successful in
Sure.
the past?
Yes,
And
yes.
how that moves forward, so
Yes.
people have an idea
Yeah.
fiscally, how
So-
some things can potentially be
Absolutely.
implemented?
So this is just one example within the implementation tables, but one of the columns is potential funding strategies. So some of these items, again, are just going to be staff time or meeting time for the staff to do some of these things, or elected officials. But then we do have, specific funding sources if you want to go out and do, in this case, this is increasing connectivity and multimodal mobility. So, there's a lot of multimodal funds out there. You can get multimodal funds from PennDOT, the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. You can get them from, the DCED has one, the Commonwealth Finance Agency has one, PADCED, which is the Department of Community and Economic Development. So, we're really trying to tie, these goals and objectives to potential funding sources. And there are a good vast amount of grant funds out there, low interest loans, those types of things. If you want to do, infrastructure related improvements or something like that, those are more like stormwater or public water sewer type improvements. But, we've done a lot over the years in other places, a lot of streetscape type improvements, things like that. Main streets where we're burying utility lines and things like that. There's a lot that goes into that. So we do try to identify throughout here the various funding, sources. So infrastructure improvements, there's going to be more, maybe some DCNR stuff in here. Same with, community facilities. So trying to tie all of that together. In Washington County, you do have the LSA, the local share account here with gaming funds and casino funds. So that's a really great resource as well, specific to Washington County. Not all of the counties have their own. So some are just fighting for the state LSA funds when they become available. And there's, for the CPROS plan, there's DCNR funds that the township could go after as well to help fund those types of projects to keep things moving.
So it's fair to say that some of these future visionary thoughts and improvements that are cost-based and require money, some of them certainly would come out of the taxes of the people who live here.
Yes,
But
certainly.
there are others,
Yes.
other than whether it is funding, whether it's
Yep.
state or federal grant, different things that
Yep.
requires you to apply for those.
Yes.
And there are people who write grants and who know where those are and we could engage to write those grants and seek those monies for us.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
Before we move on to in-person public comment, I see we have some letters here this evening that you provided to us. Is that,
Yes, these letters were sent to us relative to the comp plan, and we just provided them so that you guys have them in their place.
I have read through the majority of them. They seem pretty singularly focused on traffic unless I missed something.
Yeah.
The one
Yeah.
was certainly traffic and the maintenance around Washington Road, essentially, of the different infrastructure facilities. And yeah, the other one was more traffic safety related. And I will say, a lot of what we hear, both in terms of the comp plan and doing anything related to planning, is usually there's a traffic component and issues surrounding that.
And before we dive deeply into traffic, because we may have some additional comments here, could you just kind of outline how the township handles traffic through our traffic impact fee and the plan there very quickly, just so we have some background? If you wouldn't
Sure,
mind.
so any new development is required to pay a traffic impact fee. And that traffic impact fee is based on the number of trips that you generate, the number of new trips. So if it's an existing development and you're expanding that development, then it's based on the net increase. If it's a brand new development, then it's just the development as a whole. And again, it's based on the peak hours, the number of peak hour trips that you generate. That money is then put into our traffic impact fee accounts, and that has to then be spent only on traffic impact improvements. The other thing that we do relative to traffic, anytime we get new development, we go through a process with our traffic engineer who reviews them and then makes comments relative to whether the design of the roads meet our ordinances, but also whether or not there's going to be type of level of service delays and what improvements are necessary to make sure that we don't have any level of service delays.
And generally, is it my understanding that there are limitations what the township can require of developers who are
Yes.
installing developments, and the traffic impact fee is presumably used to help offset those impacts relative to those developments?
Yes, so typically, when we're talking about local roads, the only improvements that we can require a developer to make are the ones that they are directly adjacent to the development. So when you have a development that comes out onto a local road, we can make them do improvements at that intersection, but we can't make them do improvements at an intersection down the street. It has to be adjacent to the development. Now, when we're talking about state roads, that's a whole different animal. The state gets involved, and the state may actually be able to require the developer to make improvements off-site. In other words, maybe at an intersection down the street, there may be a signal that's necessary. They can actually make them do that to get the HOP for their particular development.
In short, the mechanisms available to the township are limited per the MPC, and
Correct.
we believe we are currently capturing all available resources to make necessary improvements to local roads.
Yes.
Any other commissioner comments before I take public comment?
With regard to the traffic impact fee, how are we financially? Or do we have a surplus, or are we at a deficit?
We are at a surplus in that we still have money to spend. And the way it works is we have a traffic impact advisory fee committee, and we provide them with a report. The report's generated by Mr. Mudry, our consultant with TPD, and he looks at, we have a list of capital improvement projects. There's a cost value assigned to that. We can then use that to determine what the actual impact fee is per trip. So that's how we generate those numbers. But again, we do have money in our account for future improvements, and every year we're taking from that account, applying it to improvements, but we do have more money coming in. But there's always more projects to do.
And from my recollection, one of the benefits of having a surplus is that should other funding become available, our opportunity to match that funding,
Yep.
whether at a state level or otherwise, generally moves projects along faster.
That is
So if it's
correct.
a joint project and PennDOT says, hey, we have half the money, could you supply the other half? By having a surplus, in doing so, we can fast track that project and get that work.
That is correct.
I believe the roundabout at Valley Brook was one.
The roundabout, that's one. The signal down here at Cohen Markets was another. Another one that we're working on right now is at Galley and Water Dam. There will be some match money that'll come from the TIF account.
Gotcha. So we have these projects prioritized based upon our traffic folks who consult on that matter, and then we strategically spend that money as we can maximize our dollar value from a township perspective.
Yes.
Anything else before we move on to public comment?
Could I add just one little thing? I
Yes.
don't want anyone from the public to think that we're not taking, traffic comments into account or anything like that. So, within the increasing connectivity and multimodal mobility chapter, we do talk a good bit about, potential traffic improvements, traffic flow issues, things like that. There are goals, within that implementation matrix for that chapter that talk about improvements. There's, a sketched out potential roundabout at the intersection of Valley Brook and East McMurray, right down here at the town center square. I mean, that is, again, just one option, so we don't want to really highlight and harp on that, but that's one option to address some of the traffic flow at that particular intersection. But again, the comprehensive plan is, spread out over 10 years, so we identify, the other processes that Mark mentioned, the capital improvement planning, the annual road repaving, stuff like that goes into account, that factors into all of that. But we do hear those traffic concerns and do feel like that chapter covers a good bit of it, as a whole, and, more visionary for the township to look at those things as it becomes, as issues arise.
I appreciate that, Laura. Hearing any other comments, we'll take public comment now. If you could please, anyone like to speak, come up, restate your name and address, just so we have it at the tip of our
Tony
fingers.
Brown, 123 Druid.
Thank you, sir.
This is, I'm glad you guys brought up, because a lot of people thought the comprehensive plan was the law, and it's the ordinances that are the law. So I want to make sure the process, this is not mandatory from everybody I've talked to. The counties, it's mandatory, but this is very nice to have if you want grant money, is what
Correct.
I've been learning.
Yes.
So they favor you if you have a comprehensive plan. Then, if we adopt one, it shifts to ordinance, right? And Mark, what does that look like to you? Do you have a feel that we may have already started some drafting and can implement some of this pretty quick?
What the way we envision this working is that we'll go out and get a consultant on board and begin drafting the ordinance. And the first part is looking at our ordinance, we'll figure out what is right and what is wrong with our ordinance. We already know a lot of that, But this will be confirmed by a consultant, and then we'll start the whole drafting process. It'd probably take a year, give or take, to go through the whole ordinance.
So I don't know in your world, like if you have a department that does this or not. My personal experience with the cell phone was Paul called in, we stopped work order, and Verizon has a high-rise building in New York filled with attorneys that deal with municipalities. People like that, corporations, are well-staffed, well-powered, in their lane, and kill us. John Smith has to deal with everything. Now he's fighting the whole building. So I went out and I found people that do this for a living, write ordinances. I'm a believer in best practices. So I don't know, and it's what I mentioned at that last workshop. We got to find a way for the smaller towns, municipalities and so forth to have access to this. Mark should be able to get to a pool of info. It may be a good business plan for somebody, but somebody's got to help us quickly write and adapt proper ordinances. I think you made the comment at the public hearing that we were going to try some level of high-density housing again, and it was mentioned in council. We wrote it poorly. We got exploited. But we got to do better this time. Well, I don't want to do better. I don't want to open the door. I want it to be proper. So do you see assets out there instead of these men going out and building a model up from the ground when it might already be out there? I mean, do you guys run across that? Do you have that data? Just like the agricultural stuff that I asked for. Mr. Simmons was begging, to get answers. And then Paul Lauer said, I'm taking this on. I'm going to get the answers. Then Ted Taylor and his attorney were here. A lot of mistruths. Hey, Mark, isn't there something if we build a buffer of some type, it doesn't have to be X amount of feet? We should have those answers. In fact, they should have the answers. They don't want to give up setbacks. Maybe there is a buffer out there, and I believe he said he built 40 feet, right? I don't know why he wants Simmons what's he gonna do? Cut down 50 feet of peach trees? He already lost 1.1 million. It should be on him to come to you guys and say, hey, is there a variance here? If I built this buffer, the Department of Agriculture says Mr. Benzay said there were certain kind of grasses. Mr. Benjamin Marcus, when he said he was gonna go back and put in the buffers that he never put in that were mandated, he said he would, then he changed his mind. He had a good idea. That buffer that we showed was high maintenance. It had multi-levels of shrubs and deciduous trees. So the 30-foot tall evergreen bushes, I agreed with him. That did a much better job. He was asking for leniency there. But the point is, have we got this, anybody, any answers? Has anybody been able, other than say, give up acreage, have we found, or have we tried to find what's acceptable? Did Paul come back to you and say, hey, I got all this data over the last 4 or 6 months? Because I haven't heard it.
Just to clarify, we're talking about the comprehensive plan. It sounds like you're referring to a past meeting where there was items on the agenda. If you could keep that to a comprehensive plan discussion, I would really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
so I guess what I'm asking is, they're designing the comprehensive plan, and I don't know the expertise, I don't know the interrelationships. I know grant writing and grant funding is the deal. So can you offer those services? Do you feel there's a database out there so he's not building from ground floor up on these ordinances?
For like when they go to do the zoning ordinance? or any
The comprehensive
ordinance?
plan is
Sure.
our guidepost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's
Sure.
said. So
Yeah.
now we're gonna write ordinances to match that.
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah, we do
What's
that.
the timing?
We
Yeah,
do
we-
do that. There are many, all of the planning firms also do, not just comprehensive plans, but also zoning ordinances. So I'm sure when the township puts out the RFP for those services, folks will respond to that for sure.
'Cause whoever wrote
so
the
yeah.
ordinances-
No, there's lots of us that we track, lots of different types of issues. We're actively working on several zoning ordinances right now. I'm sure some of our competitors are as well. So there are definitely resources out there to help the township. For
And I
sure.
believe there's, I think it's Pennsylvania Association of Planners that puts out model ordinances. Maybe I got the wrong.
Yeah,
Yep.
DCED has some model ordinances. Yes, there are several places.
There-
A lot of the county planning commissions, particularly out eastern part of the state, Chester County, Montgomery County have some wonderful model ordinances out
does a
there.
nice job.
So
That's
PSATS does a great job as well, correct?
So we have an
yeah.
ordinance, so it's not as if we are writing from scratch.
Yeah,
And we
and
have
they don't need
ordinances and
to
we
write
have
from
ordinances that
scratch.
work.
Yeah.
And we have zoning plans that work. It's a matter of, we're not, like you were saying, start from the ground, from the ground level. That's not really where we are.
I don't know,
we do
because
have-
when we talked about so whoever wrote the high-density housing one before, I think the last plan was implemented 14 years
2013.
ago.
Yeah, they need change, for sure, and there's
No,
things
no,
that are
it
gonna
didn't
go
need
up
change,
completely.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Right, and there was
No
some things that'll be
respect, they
eliminated.
even said it was bad.
Well, I'm not
And-
commenting, I'm saying that
Okay,
we
you just
have
don't
something you're starting with, it's a matter of changing. It's not a matter of starting from the ground up.
Like
and I think
Monica
that there's-
Merrill said here, who voted no. When the first plan came in, they didn't have the beautiful playground in the middle, using all that extra.
Sure.
Hey, you built .2, let's take .3. I'm gonna walk the grandkids in this $200,000 variety of housing that's $850 for a Lego home behind me. So that's a fallacy. But there was no park, there's no playground. You got a swamp across the street of Venetia for Woodbriar on Thomas Road. The coyotes live in that cavern. The grandkids ain't playing there. So
And for sure, there are things we have learned over the last 15 years, absolutely. All I was
That's what
saying
I'm
was that
worried about.
we're not writing something from a blank sheet of paper. That's all I was
I
saying.
hear you.
Yeah, and I just want to say, obviously we were not at all involved in writing that ordinance, but, some things can have really fantastic intention and just have poor execution. Even professionals sometimes, we think it's going to work one way, but every community is different, so sometimes it just takes a little bit of like a fine-tooth comb to create the right solution. So honestly, not that anyone's happy that the mistake happened, but I think it's really great that it happened, so we now know how not to move forward in the future.
Yeah, I don't mean this to be adversarial.
No,
I
absolutely.
want it to be right. So I got you guys presented the council here, and this is why I asked you about the final draft. We'll have to re-advertise. I heard two clear messages, and the one was at that last public with over 100 and some people. Mark, are we required by our gods that we're subservient to have some level of high-density housing? Because it's still there, and council said, get it out,
So
period. Get it out, or we're voting it down.
Courts
If
have
it's in
ruled
there-
that you have to have every type of land use conceivable in your ordinance, somewhere. So you have to allow for it somewhere in your township.
And how does that break out? Because I saw
And-
apartments.
Well,
And if it's
what
not,
you-
Mark? If it's not,
If it's not, we can be subject to a curative amendment, which means someone can come in and say, you know what, your ordinance is deficient, and because it's deficient, we're suing you, and here's how you can make it.
And they get site-specific.
They get
But
site-
how do they lay it out? Like 2% of your, do they give exact
There's
numbers?
no, it's all on a case-by-case basis, and it's
you,
based on really the locality that you're in.
would one of our esteemed attorneys like to explain de facto versus de jure?
Sure, so if you have a use that isn't permitted anywhere in the township, because it's not addressed at all, it is de jure exclusionary, and a developer and anyone else could come in.
Could come at you.
Sue you, find a location, and they are entitled to site-specific relief. That's bad.
And there's no real parameters, like percentages, income level, or.
If the ordinance doesn't identify it as a use permitted at all, it is exclusionary.
Okay.
It is, if it permits it, for example, if we say you can have multifamily housing, but we pick a 0.2 acre piece of ground that's owned by someone or it's already developed, but that's the only place you could put it, then it's de facto exclusionary, which means we ostensibly are permitting it,
Right.
but in fact, you can't locate it here. That is also exclusionary, and that also entitles them to site-specific relief if they can prove that in fact that development can't happen.
So I'm hoping we're threading the needle here because council said 0 high-density housing going forward. That was at the public hearing, and no referencing the aquatic center and building out an aquatic center. That was 2 things that were like dead on in there. So if any of that stuff's still in there, have a plan for that and how to address it with council.
Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie. That was very,
I think your
Right on.
explanations
Oh,
are
one
very
second.
helpful.
yeah.
That's all I really want to say.
Thank you.
Definitely.
So you don't want me to get into too much detail about the buffer that we're gonna be deciding on the 31st? I'm just hoping somebody.
This is a comprehensive meeting. This is a meeting
Yeah,
to
that's-
discuss the comprehensive
Okay.
plan.
The only thing I will say is that that buffer, what we're talking about on the
Yes, sir.
31st, is an attempt to start to address some of the goals in
Or
this.
setback.
Yeah, in terms of basically making it more palatable for farmers to continue operating by requiring that there be some type of additional setback.
And nobody's come to you with any alternates or data or approvals that it doesn't have to be 100 feet if you do this. Nobody's,
No, well, right now
We
we're
haven't
sticking with
found
the
that
100
data.
feet because that's what the EPA said you should be separated from when you're doing certain types of spraying.
okay. I know I have one more. I'm sorry if you beg my indulgence here.
That are around this area.
We can take public comment from you in a minute, ma'am. Call you.
I'll sit for a while. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
Oh, the Miller, the PRD. That's sitting in your department, right?
It's
we're-
not PRD.
Well, right now, it's
It's a
on the
special land
plan,
use area.
it's called a special land use area. And the idea is that when we go back and do our zoning audit and then revise the zoning ordinance, we will address it at that time as to what type of zoning regulations should be applied there. And it could range anywhere from, keep it as low-density residential, or do some type of mixed use, or a planned residential development, which will allow some flexibility for lot sizes.
Then I'm confused because I was told he'd already submitted a plan. And like you said to Ted Taylor, you're in your grandfather.
He has not submitted a plan yet.
He is not.
He has not. He has shown us concepts and ideas,
Okay.
but he has not submitted a plan yet.
And until we have ordinances, he will be whatever's filed on
Right now,
that date.
right now, that property is zoned mixed residential overlay and West Venetia mixed use. Those do allow some greater density. We have taken steps to reduce that density that's permitted there, and even some of the land uses that are permitted there, but it's still higher than, say, low-density residential. So if he brings something in today or tomorrow, he would follow those rules.
And I was always told that any usage of that property out there, PennDOT was gonna require a roundabout at Bebout, in Venetia.
It's
for
very
anything-
possible that they require improvements to Venetia Road and Bebout. It's either gonna be a traffic signal or some other form of controlling intersection turning movements, and that would be a roundabout.
And for him to get approval from PennDOT, that would be up to him?
Well, he comes to us with the plan. PennDOT reviews it, our traffic engineer reviews it, and they determine what improvements are necessary. And in the past, it's always been considered a roundabout there, as well as other improvements elsewhere along the Bebout corridor.
Yeah, it's gonna be needed. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate all your service.
Thank you very much.
Ma'am, could you please state your name and your address for our
I'm
record?
East Grace. I live up on Windermere Court. The only question I have is with the comprehensive plan that's being presented, are there any farm lands or land surrounding it that is being farmed that may be impacted so that we don't end up in another situation like what's currently going on?
So it's part of that ordinance that we're trying to stay away from, but we'll go a little bit into that. We did look at what farms we have in the township, and we identified 4 commercial agricultural operations. In other words, farms that are, growing and selling and to other people, not for themselves. So that was the Bebots, the Simmons, Trax, and someone else that I did. That's escaping me. So there was 4 that we identified, but there was also 4 or 5 other large property owners that have some type of operation going on. We're not sure exactly what it is, but anyways, we consider them as well, and the lands around them.
Okay.
And in total, it was about 48, 49 properties total that could be potentially impacted by any future development. So we did look at that, and we have invited them also to the August 31st meeting.
Okay, good. So when this plan gets approved then, and the new ordinances that you're all going to be doing, they're going to be able to be enforced around the perimeter
Yes.
of this property?
Yes.
If passed. If
Yes,
and when
if it
passed.
passes,
If it
yes.
If and when
Yes.
Yeah,
passed.
if it passes.
Yes.
Okay, and that's all I needed to know,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
With respect to some of those agricultural lands, that the 7.8%, I believe, that was identified in the future
Oh,
land
on
use
the
map?
future land use map? Yes.
And that's just an estimate, but
Yes.
Sure.
And
And-
some of those other large lots that are left that maybe aren't kind of farm, but you sort of referenced there's some activity happening there, they might not all be accounted for in that. They might still be like a 0.5 to 1
Gerhold
acre lot.
Farm?
Gerholt is one of the ones that is an active agricultural farm and
it's-
is potentially going to be developed.
Right.
And also the horse farms. So council asked for 10 acres and up, right?
Right, correct. So we captured those as well.
So you'll be, yeah, that'll raise the number.
Do we have any other public comment?
You want to insure them?
But I'd have to bid on it. So.
you can submit it online if you think of it later.
We just voted down.
Any other commissioner comments? I have a few questions. With the future land use percentages, we talked about lot size, and I noted that, some of the key drivers of the comprehensive plan, or some of the feedback we receive is, the agricultural and green nature of the community is desired to be maintained. The density. So when we talk about housing, I see that 7.4% of the land use that's roughly, and I know these are estimates, is going to be greater than 1 acre or more. And that's what that means, that kind of top percent there. If you could highlight that for us, Mark, the 7.4%, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's housing 1 acre or greater, correct?
Yes.
The 7.8%, which is currently agricultural, does our current ordinance, or I guess, is there a possibility that those are developed? And when they are, what's the minimum lot size there?
So the minimum lot size on most of those is going to be half acre. Because most of the land in Peters Township is zoned low-density residential, which has that half acre minimum. There's a couple of exceptions to that, and that's here in this area that's yellow, which is on McClellan Road on one side, and I believe that's Churchill on this side here. Those are just large lot residential, but there are some also farms in that area, more just kind of hobby farms, I would say. But those are zoned rural residential, and they have a 5 acre minimum.
Gotcha. So just to reiterate, the agricultural lands, if developed, would be available for, under current zone and potentially, as the comprehensive plan states, the minimum lot size in those areas would be
Half acre.
half acre. It seems to me it may be not unreasonable to increase that minimum acreage to 1 acre or more, if not larger, specifically on the agricultural lands which exist.
Yes.
Because we're talking about, that was one of the prime priorities we heard from the community that's been overly represented multiple times, and maintaining the rural character, low density. On several of the slides here, we received feedback. So, I mean, I could put that into a formal recommendation, but I would consider one of the elements to limit density would be looking at the general lot sizes relative to these districts, specifically the agricultural, and having that be a minimum of 1 acre or greater. That is one man's opinion, reading what I understood from a lot of the comprehensive feedback on the comprehensive plan, excuse me.
What does the term
Oh,
estate
gentlemen,
lot
could you please
means?
come up and
What does
speak in the
estate-
microphone?
What does estate lots mean to you? Because council member, they wanted a big section of that, at that time it was called PRD, but Miller, they wanted a large section, like 2 acres. And they were talking estate lots, but I don't know if that's a technical term that has a minimum or not.
It would be defined in the zoning ordinance what an
Yeah.
estate lot would be,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, 'cause-
Yeah.
Generally speaking, it's a couple acres or larger.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
usually
Yeah.
bigger.
But it's all
'Cause that's what
relative.
Waldinger and Steigel were
Yeah.
Yeah.
instructing. We want
Yeah.
estate lots on these properties and Miller property if possible.
My current opinion is on these agricultural areas, the larger lots would be in line with what feedback we've heard from the community. So estate lots 2 5-acre plus would be ideal.
So when you say the lots that are shown on this map in green as agriculture?
Correct.
Okay.
If ever developed, we need to minimize that density to maintain as much of the rural character as we have. We'd love from the stay agricultural, but I understand there are pressures and demands.
Yeah. Which is why, I mean, we're leaving them as agriculture on the future land use map. That was obviously intentional. They very well may get developed. And I mean, yeah, that makes sense. You would want them to be larger lots. But I would say that that definitely can be achieved through the zoning ordinance amendments moving
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
So right now, you're saying that they are categorized the way they need to be categorized, which is agricultural.
Well, it's the
Once
most
we move
restrictive
to-
option,
That's what
so,
I mean,
yeah,
right. So
yeah.
they are in the most restrictive option right now. The next step.
Down,
Were we
yeah.
then to write additional
Yeah.
zoning ordinances, the amendment to the map would be to amend what agricultural means.
Yes.
As far as
Yes.
lot density. It's not necessarily something here at a comprehensive level, because it's already designated as agricultural.
Yes, but what I will say is that this is an important part of the plan that can help
Correct.
give you precedent for those zoning ordinance changes. So
Correct.
us showing it as agriculture and that people are saying we want agriculture, that's good. I wouldn't want to change it from agriculture. Not that you are saying that, but I think it's good to keep it as restrictive as possible.
And that's from.
And we can probably add like something, to the chairman's like comments, like in the text where we talk about the future land use map. Like, that's not a substantial change. That's like a clarification of like, hey, these are shown as agriculture. This too will need to be looked at in terms of if it would ever,
Right, this is
if
our
you would
intent.
want us to, you know what I mean? But
Correct.
I think it's still general enough that that's more of like okay, when this is adopted and the township stops working on that zoning ordinance, changes and the new ordinance that they look at that time.
What is the definition of, and
Yeah.
what are the capacities for, or the designated acreage for agricultural? That's a definitional stage, right?
Yeah.
Change.
I think a note in the text would be more than adequate relative to the intent,
Yeah.
should they ever be developed, because we can't prohibit development in the
Of course.
architectural district, but we want to control it to
Limit
what is
density.
practical.
Yeah.
Correct.
Those 7.8, that percentage, what is the largest acreage of, do we know generally what those larger lots are already?
The Miller,
Are they-
you mean
Well, not, let's exclude Miller, but
Simmons is probably up
Yeah,
there?
7.4.
Seven
not
point-
percentages,
So-
what's
An
those
actual
acreages, yeah.
So it's probably going to be either the Bebout, Frobe Farm, or Simmons Farms have the largest acreage.
And are we
Frobe
talking-
was 90 to 100.
90 to 100, okay.
Bebout and Simmons are both broken into smaller parcels, but they're still, as a whole, looking at 100 or more acres.
100 more
each.
acres, right, okay.
Can you do that percentage again?
When you think of 1 acre lots, they're certainly larger than a lot of lots. I don't know if a 1 acre lot necessarily conveys the rural character that the community is looking to preserve. That's probably like a 5 acre lot when we're talking about it, I mean, to be quite frank with you. So that would be more in line, I believe that would be more in line. There's probably more discussion, exploratory elements to define that, but that's probably along the lines of the intent of what I'm reading that the community is looking for.
So are these?
Could you come up again, sir, so that we can hear you?
Are these
The folks that are-
today, or that's what you're shooting?
No, that's
No,
future.
This is the future land use map.
That's the future land use map.
And
Yeah.
Do you have what today's would be for comparison?
We don't we have it here.
Not in the PowerPoint, but it is in the plan.
Pretty accurate.
It's not very different.
Existing is agricultural says 8.5. Existing says 8.5,
Oh, okay.
and I don't know where the differential
Well,
is.
I wonder what
It's
changed.
not there.
8.5 versus 7.8, and I don't know off the top of my head where the
So
change
not
is.
massive.
No, no. I mean, I could tell you that explicitly, no current large lots were changed to be anything but large lots. That makes sense.
Could the differential be somebody who has something that was deemed agricultural that has already put a plan in place, and that's why existing versus future, that percentage went down? I don't know the answer to that, but would that be one of the reasons? Because remember, we had three different maps we were looking at. We were looking at existing, and then we were looking at where there were already approved plans.
Yeah.
And then we were looking at what were the available spaces where we could look at things.
I think some of it was that it did need to be updated with some new lots. I know, like, along Venetia, there was, like, a new development that had come in that may have skewed some stuff. And it was,
might
I
have-
think, a larger lot beforehand, so.
That might have changed that. And
Yeah,
I think the
it's been a
existing-
minute. I
We
can't
can
fully
double
remember.
check it
but-
though, because even like looking at the maps now, they're both on like one page to the next. I mean, the same green areas
Are-
look to
are
be
still.
the same green areas, so I don't know if it was just.
And Lauren, sorry, it could also be that I remember you were gathering more data constantly, and then some of those
Yes,
percentages
and
are
then some of these
changing.
are tweaked
But
and-
I don't know that you
yeah.
ever went back, because
Yeah.
when you were updating things, I don't know that there would have been a
check it.
reason for you to
So
go
that-
up and correct the existing one.
They're
So
just-
that could be where the discrepancy is
Yeah.
too.
I also will say, though, that they're not, I wouldn't take those numbers as gospel. They're literally just calculations that are based on approximations
Right.
from parcel data that we can get from the county, so.
Right, so a 0.7 doesn't necessarily.
No,
okay,
it's more of like the general gist
Yes.
here, so,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Was the topic of gas drilling discussed at all, or did it come up for? Because
I don't remember anyone
Not-
really
no.
discussing it. But I believe the way our ordinance is written, it's pretty difficult to do
Well,
in the
there,
township.
if I recall correctly, since I've been on the planning commission, there's one, like an industrial area on Hidden Valley Road.
There's Hidden Valley Road and then Valley Brook Road and Buckeye Street.
Yeah, those were the only areas that could conceivably be,
Could be, without looking at the regulations, but
Yeah.
I know it's limited.
but it didn't come up with all the agricultural area,
No.
remote spots in the township.
Well, I think that's thanks to John Smith, Bart,
Yeah.
his lawsuit.
Okay.
And the buzzword hasn't been mentioned in Peters Township, has it?
Data centers?
Yes.
So the way our ordinance is written right now, we have a catch-all land use category that says any use not defined has to go into this one particular zone, and that particular zone is the industrial zone. So if a data center were to be proposed, it can only go into the industrial zone, and given the shape of the industrial zone, it does not lend itself to any large users.
Do we have an industrial zone?
We do have industrial zones, so there's
Yeah,
a
we do.
3 or 4
It's on Hidden
properties on
Valley.
Hidden Brook Road. Hidden Brook, is that correct? Hidden
Yeah.
Valley.
Hidden Valley.
Hidden
Point to,
Valley.
it probably remains industrial, I'd
It's
imagine.
really, really small.
Actually,
It's like,
this
yeah,
purple area
I was
right
gonna
here.
say,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay.
And then along Valley Brook, where you have, there's some self-storage facilities and
Where Tom Robinson.
Robinson has his
Yeah.
property.
Okay.
And then Wohler Landscaping, although that's shown as red here, that's the other industrial zone.
Okay.
0.3%.
Yes, very limited.
Any other commissioner comments on the comprehensive plan? Hearing none, would what we talked about relative to the agricultural district be something we put in a additional recommendation, or that
I
would just
think
be
that would be a
something narrative
fair-
that you can?
I think that'd be a fair recommendation to keep in there, and then we can make the changes as well, and then we can mention that at the public hearing.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So we're making a recommendation
To council.
to council,
Yep.
subject to
Yes.
whatever
Right.
conditions or additions.
Correct. It's just like when we do a plan and we make those conditions.
Right.
A lot of times the
Right.
developer makes some revisions and brings them to
Right.
council.
Can you help me out just then for the Miller property? How is that specifically worded now?
Special land use.
Area.
Land use area.
Yes, special land use.
And how is
area.
that defined then?
It's-
Whatever we want it to be in the future?
Yeah,
It
we
leaves
kind of
it
left
very
it up to you
open.
guys.
Yeah, it leaves
Okay.
it leaves it very, very open. I'll try to find the page.
Okay, so with that being converted to special, whatever it's called, where does that leave anything that's less than half-acre lots? If we remove the Miller property from the equation completely,
For the most part,
where are we with anything less
the
than?
existing vacant properties that are zoned for low-density residential are proposed to remain as low-density residential.
Right.
Under the
So-
future land use map.
So for anything that's still open, right, and we exclude Miller, is there anything that is identified as higher density? That's, I know we already have higher density, so I'm not saying that we
Nothing-
shouldn't-
nothing
or that there's
proposed.
not. I'm
Yeah,
saying that
nothing
anything
proposed.
open.
Only
Okay.
what exists.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was consistent with what was
Yeah.
discussed as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, thanks.
May I have a motion? If not, I'm happy to go out. Good.
I don't know what the additions,
It would be with recommendation to further limit the density by requiring larger lot sizes, specifically for the agricultural district to be estate-type lots to maintain the rural character, presumably 5 acres or more.
with that being said, I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of the comprehensive plan, to go to council for their further review, subject to that addition.
Okay.
I'll second.
We do need a vote, right?
Yes, you need to vote.
All in favor? Aye. Very good. Before we move on, I want to thank HRG, Laura and Summer, Commissioner, for the efforts put in, and staff, for the efforts put in this comprehensive plan. This is no small feat. It's been going on for over a year. I'm not sure, Rochelle, how many meetings you've been to, but I think.
I was at all of those meetings.
It's fantastic.
6.
No, we appreciate it. It's great work that you're doing. It's great work, and it's fantastic to see the amount of engagement we've had. Over 30-some% respondents from the community in your survey. So I applaud all of your efforts. So thank you very much from truly the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure. So excited to get it through the home stretch here, and yeah.
And this will go to council when?
September 28th is the public hearing at 7 PM.
Very good.
And that's here. right?
That's here
Yes.
in the council chambers.
And just to be very bold, I'm going to put you on the spot, Mark. Do you have internet access? Could you show us so the folks at home can see where to go to review any
Oh,
comment on the
sure.
website?
Let's see if I can.
I do apologize for putting you on the spot.
Okay, so you're just gonna wanna go to Peters Township. And what I do here is I just go up to the search bar, type in comprehensive plan. Okay, and it'll give you just wanna click on comprehensive plan here is
Yeah.
one of the results. There it goes.
Maybe Tom will put a big one in.
And as you can see, it brings up the comprehensive plan page, and I scroll down slightly, and right here is the link to the Survey Monkey.
Fantastic. So we'll have the comprehensive plan. The top right underneath there is the final draft
Yep.
for review, and any commentary is welcomed. And our esteemed colleagues at HRG will be monitoring that in advance of the next council hearing.
Yep.
Fantastic. With that, number 6, staff update.
Nothing really, other than we're having a public hearing on the 28th for the comprehensive plan. And I guess I should note also next Monday, we will be discussing the agricultural setbacks, which we did discuss here as well at the last meeting.
Please consider moving that to a bigger facility. You're gonna have,
Could you come up, sir, if you're gonna
this is not
comment?
gonna handle it. There's a lot of people that wanna come. Please talk to whoever to see if you can get an alternate site, Mark.
Right now, this is what we got, so
Well,
I'll
we've
mention it
had
to
meetings
Paul.
before, though, like at the high school and so forth.
I'll mention it to
I'm just asking you, please, because if there's people that's not able to talk and act on behalf of our agricultural friends, I think that's a disservice. We have enough time to have a bigger venue.
I've been here and I've sat way in the back hallway, way back there, and been called up one by one for testimony, or for comments. So if it can't be moved, I've seen very large meetings in here, and I'm sure it'll be handled
Okay.
judiciously. I thank you so much for your comments, sir. With that, if there's nothing else,
I got nothing.
meeting adjourned.